believing what I just heard. I mean, I heard it, and I've got a partial transcript in front of me, but I'm not believing it. I have no choice but to believe it because I heard it, but I don't believe it. Oh, and by the way, I have been telling you that despite the public persona and the public image and the presentations, there's a big crack in the Kerry campaign, the media support. I have two examples today. One of them is Helen Thomas. Oh, they are livid out there, and they're starting to not being able to contain it here. And I'll tell you what it's all about. Greetings, my friends, and welcome. You are tuned to the most listened to radio talk show in America. This, the award-winning, thrill-packed, ever-exciting, increasingly popular, growing by leaps and bounds, Rush Limbaugh program on the EIB network. Our telephone number is 800-282-2882, and the email address is rush@eibnet.com. I was talking about John Kerry's speech to the VFW convention today. I heard some things in there that are just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. We'll get to those. I mean, he made the case we got to keep troops in Iraq and we got to get more troops in Iraq. No, I'm sorry. This is why I get confused. We got to bring our troops home from Iraq. We got to get our friends to send their troops to Iraq, but we're not going to bring troops home from places where they're not even being used for anything. Because that's being unilateral and not considering our allies. I'm talking about South Korea and Germany. Like 30,000 troops on the DMZ in South Korea are going to stop that little pot-bellied dictator in North Korea's nuclear weapons. And hey, how about the neutron bomb? You remember that? The libs said, nope, can't do the neutron bomb. Too cruel. The neutron bomb killed people and left buildings standard. It sounds to me like the neutron bomb would have been perfect for this al-Sadr guy. Go ahead and launch a neutron bomb, leave the mosque standing, and get rid of al-Sadr. And his guys don't have to now because al-Sadr has agreed to disarm and quit a holy shrine in Najaf as demanded by Iraq's key national conference. We have just received a letter from Muqtada Sadr's office in Baghdad that confirms in the name of God Muqtada Sadr's acceptance to the conditions imposed by the conference, said Safiya al-Suhair, who is also the wife of the human rights minister in Iraq. She then called on Jalil al-Shamari, a representative from Sadr's office in the Iraqi capital, who said he was carrying the acceptance letter from the al-Sadr movement, and from Syed Muqtada Sadr on the 3 points put forward by the conference. Today, Muqtada Sadr accepted the 3 points to put an end to Iraq's bloodletting and demonstrated his desire to take an active role in the new Iraq. Well, we'll see. How many of these have there been? I mean, excuse me, there hadn't been a... Well, I don't know if he, I was going to wonder if we finally gave him his Purple Heart. You know, we put in for the Purple Heart after taking some shrapnel from our guys last week, and I wonder if we finally awarded him the Purple Heart. And since he got that, he feels free to cave and give in. We'll believe this when it happens. I mean, we've gone through these ceasefires, and we thought we were close to a deal. And this guy's like the old communists. I mean, you get a letter promising something from him. You don't believe it till you actually see it. Trust but verify, that sort of thing. Anyway. Okay, got that out of the way. Where to start with Senator Kerry? This speech today to VFW was one of the most convoluted things in the world, but beyond that, to me anyway, it conveyed some of the most astounding, I don't know what to call this, incorrectness, just he's wrong about something, or the most astounding ignorance, or just these guys are just saying what they want to say to please certain people. But some of this stuff, and I'll explain what I'm talking about, was just off the wall. Now, you remember, and we here and a lot of other people called attention to this when he was at the convention making his speech there. He promised that every attack will be met with a swift and sure response. And people said, well, that's all well and good, so we're just going to sit around and wait to be attacked, and then after we're attacked, we're going to launch hell's fire, and we're going to make sure the people that attack us get a price. I mean, what? We're just going to sit around and wait for that to happen. So he added today that he will respond when there is an imminent threat out there. When he sees an imminent threat, he's going to respond, he's going to react, he's going to do something of overwhelming force. Now, all well and good, ladies and gentlemen, but this isn't the the whole concept in the Democratic Party, the whole concept of preemptive action off the table now? Haven't we seen the press led by people like Ron Brownstein from the LA Times and the Democrats reveling over the fact that Iraq is a failure, and it's thereby a provable fact that preemptive action is no good, that it doesn't work? The Democratic Party has staked its identity in Iraq on the fact that preemptive action is a waste. It costs human lives. We can't afford to go in there when we don't really know what we're going to find. We got to wait until, it's sort of like you can't call the cops till you've been robbed. You can't call the cops and say, hey, they're casing my house. Well, until they come in there and kill you or rob you, we can't do anything. The Democrats have basically said that's our foreign policy. We can't go into a place like Iraq and we know what we're going to find there. We just can't do it. Even in the aftermath of 9/11. Now, here comes Kerry promising that he's going to go in there when he sees an imminent threat. Well, for one, I don't believe it. I think he just added this because there's such a cacophony of questioning about his desire, as stated in his convention speech, just to sit around and let us, get kicked out, get it kicked out of us. We're going to sit here and be attacked, and he's going to respond then. But there was this outrage and response. What are we going to do to stop those things? He has to throw this line in there, but it's a total variance with what the Democratic Party believes. They don't believe in preemptive action. The whole word imminent threat, they kept accusing Bush of saying there was an imminent threat in Iraq when he said just the opposite. And they were saying that there was an imminent threat in Iraq and Bush lied. Bush was wrong. There wasn't. We never said it. Now the guy who said it is Kerry. Kerry said there are imminent threats out there, and we can count on him to make sure those imminent threats don't amount to anything. This is an identity crisis the guy's having, and I guarantee you there's going to be even more fallout over this within the ranks of the Democrat Party because their whole campaign is based on the illegitimacy of Iraq. Well, what made Iraq illegitimate? It was a preemptive action. We didn't have weapons of mass destruction there, they say. There weren't all these horrible, rotten weapons. There weren't all these dastardly actions and deeds going on. This was Bush just jumping at the trigger, pulling the trigger too quickly, blah, blah, blah. Now Kerry is saying not only would he have gone into Iraq, where there are no weapons of mass destruction, and that's where the party is having a big problem with him, and that's where these two press reports I'm going to tell you about are really upset with him. That's where the fallout's happening. And now he said, in addition to going into Iraq without weapons of mass destruction, he's going to start kicking ass all over the world when there's an imminent threat. Well, pardon the French, folks. I'm sorry here, but I don't believe it. I think he just threw it in there. And B, I guarantee you there are people out there wringing their hands over this. What if he means this? Why, we're anti-war people. We don't imminent threat. There is no imminent threat. We're the imminent threat. America's the imminent threat. Who's he talking about? He's going to attack us? No, he won't attack us. They don't believe in imminent threats. We are the problem to the people that support John Kerry. We are the ones provoking war out there. We're the ones causing people to hate us. And now Kerry said if he sees an imminent threat, he's going to go kick butt. He must have said 5 times in this speech he was in Vietnam, and he must have talked about his service in Vietnam and how it relates to today, which is only going to gin up the Swiftboat guys even more. By the way, their book remains #1 at Amazon, selling through the roof without one appearance on 60 Minutes, without one appearance on Oprah. How can this be, ladies and gentlemen? But he made an even bigger gaffe, ladies and gentlemen. In his speech, did Senator Kerry, I've heard him say this before, and he said it again today, and he was talking to these guys. Just use your common sense. Just use your rational ability to think as free Americans, he said. Use your rational ability to think as free Americans. Yeah, for how long? He said, we're looking at Iraq. And he says all of these Arab countries that neighbor Iraq, they have a vested interest in a free Iraq. They don't want an Iraq to lose or whatever it was he said, and they're not at the table. Meaning we haven't got our allies, we haven't brought the Arabs in, we're not allowing them to help us in this. There's a reason why. There's a glaring reason. It's shouting from the mountaintops why the Arabs are not at the table. They don't like what's happening. They don't want a free Iraq. The Arabs want the same thing that's going on in the European Union. They want a unity. Have you heard the term Arab unity? They want all these Arab nations aligned as a central power. They are very much, what do you think this terrorism is about? They want Arab unity, ladies and gentlemen, and they are fit to be tied that their Saladin was taken out in 2 weeks. They are humiliated. Saddam was going to be the guy that huffed and puffed and blew back and beat the big evil U.S., and he didn't last 2 weeks. These people are humiliated. It has set back their whole plan for Arab unity by centuries. Well, if not centuries, decades. They're not happy about this. Don't for a minute. I mean, they probably would have liked to have taken, don't misunderstand it, they would take Saddam out themselves if they'd have had to. But the fact that we did it, oh no. That's why this is such a visionary plan that Bush has. That's why this is such a golden opportunity. The Arab, but when I say Arab unity, these people want central command socialism for all of the people in the Arab world. They don't want freedom. They don't want individuals in the Arab populations of the country, not like we know it today, and that's why they're not at the table. I mean, this is not hard to understand, and I'll back this up with some data, too, if you're having trouble believing it. Anyway, we've got some sound bites to share with you from the speech. A lot of things to do on the program today, so sit tight. We are coming back, and I promise I'm going to slow down. My mind is having trouble keeping up with my fertile brain today. My mouth. It's what I mean. My mouth is having trouble keeping, that's why I'm stuttering around here. I've got so much I want to say, and I feel like I've only got 2 minutes, even though I've got 3 hours. Sit tight. I'm just astounded at this speech. I'm just astounded at it. And he starts talking about unilateral withdrawal of our troops. There's nothing unilateral about, but even if it were, they're our troops, for crying out loud. Unilateral troop withdrawal from South Korea, unilateral troop withdrawal from Germany. Who else's are they? And it's not unilateral. We've told them this is coming. This has been going on. This plan's been in the works for 3 or 4 years. But the idea that he promised he's going to get all these allies in there fighting in Iraq. He's going to bring our troops home. But when it comes to bringing troops home from deployments where they're not doing anything and they're not useful anymore, they don't serve a real purpose. Well, no, we got to keep them there. It's confounding, folks. He's tying himself into a giant pretzel out there in front of the veterans of foreign wars. All right, quick time out. We'll be back. I shall collect myself and be back in just a moment. Don't go away. What are you frowning at now, Snurdly? What's the problem? Yes, I know. See, Snurdly is thinking about something I just said. That's what happens on this program. I inspire thought. A lot of people are thinking out there, Snurdly, and that's why this program is good. That's why this program is the program it is. Doesn't preach, inspires thought. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go away. Oh, there's no slate button, so hit go.
Let's roll. Rush on the EIB network.
You know, Kerry spoke at the Veterans of Foreign Wars convention today, and I noticed something. He wasn't wearing the VFW hat. Gore, when he spoke to these guys in 2000, he wore the hat. Dole wore the hat when he went and spoke to them, but Kerry didn't wear the hat. Probably too militaristic for Kerry. Either that, didn't want to ruin the new haircut that he flew the stylist out from Washington to Oregon to do. But I just noticed it. All right, listen to these 2 bites. Cuts 3 and 4 up there, Mike. Kerry says his goal here, bring the troops home from Iraq.
I know what we have to do in Iraq. We need a president who has the credibility to bring our allies to our side, because that's the right way to get the job done in Iraq and bring our troops home.
Well, that's powerful stuff. That's the right way to get things done and bring our troops home. He doesn't want to bring the troops home from anywhere else, but he wants to bring them home from Iraq, which is where the battle is. And here's what came shortly thereafter. This represents the big change or the big addition from what he said at the convention.
I will never hesitate, not for an instant, to use force when it is required. Any attack will be met with a swift and certain response. Any imminent threat to our security will be dealt with swiftly and severely.
Now, allow me, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, to parse this or to analyze this. Why would a guy going to the Veterans of Foreign Wars Convention who's running for president have to make a point, have to go out of his way to make sure these guys knew that he would not hesitate, not for an instant, to use force when it is required? Any attack will be met with a swift and certain response. Why would, I mean, is that not what we would assume any president would do? But here is Senator Kerry having to tell fellow veterans at the VFW convention that that's his intention. Now, I submit it's because he knows, as every Democrat knows, every liberal Democrat knows, that they are not thought of that way, and there is a lack of trust to use force when they are in power, when they are in charge, to use it wisely and correctly and properly. And by that, I mean in defense of the country. You take a look at Jimmy Carter and the mess in Iran. You take a look at Clinton and Mogadishu and all these haphazard military operations that he ran. And don't tell me about Kosovo. You know, that thing's still a mess over there, and I don't think we fought that the correct way either. I don't even know what we were trying to do there other than, stop some so-called ethnic cleansing, which is a good lib pet phrase. But then he follows it up with, and you heard it, any imminent threat to our security will be dealt with swiftly and severely. Now, I cannot emphasize here, and you're not going to hear, I don't think you're going to hear this, so you have to trust me on this. The libs are not going to go out and betray the guy. I mean, there may be trickles of it from some defections in the press corps, primarily the columnists brigade. But you have to understand, the Democrats, the libs, the hate Bush crowd out there has staked their whole viability. And the sole reason Bush has to go, the primary reason, is Iraq. Iraq is an error. Iraq is a mistake. Bush lied. Bush lied about weapons of mass destruction. He lied about Saddam. He lied about all of this. It's about oil for Halliburton, and these clowns believe it. And it has caused some big fallout. As I said, there have been stories for the past 6 months about how the failure to find weapons of mass destruction proves that a preemptive action is not warranted, and that this failure in Iran, it is said, will put a damper on Bush's plan of preemptive action. Now, what Kerry has just said here is that he endorses Bush's plan of preemptive action. This is Bush setting the agenda. Bush is setting the agenda by virtue of his actions as president, not words. Kerry had to add this because everybody said after the convention, well, what are we going to do? Just sit around and wait to be attacked and then you'll go into action? What about people who are going to attack us first? What are you going to do to stop them? Oh, yeah, well, so if a speechwriter put that in there then. So the speechwriters put it in there. And what we got is the word imminent. Bush never used the word imminent. The left out there saying Bush said that Iraq was an imminent threat. He said it wasn't. It's a gathering threat. We got to take it out before they become imminent. Kerry has just endorsed his own doctrine of preemptive action. Now, will he be called on it by the same people who ripped Bush a new one for doing the same thing? Let's see, folks. Let's just wait and see, huh? That's right, my friends. Redefining hip on the radio, El Rushmo, the EIB network. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, I'm gonna repeat something I said yesterday that I think will help a lot of people understand what is going on in Iraq. The basic analogy that I made is that just like the Cold War, when our primary enemy was the Soviets, we never had a direct confrontation with them. We had confrontations with their surrogates. We had the confrontation with their surrogates in Vietnam, in Korea, in Nicaragua, in Cuba, in Afghanistan. Of course, that was what we used surrogates in Afghanistan. And in Iraq today, I think the actual war is with Iran. Iran's the focus of evil when it comes to terrorism around the world. They've sponsored it long before Al-Qaeda came along, and they're now linked up with Al-Qaeda. And this al-Sadr fella, who just supposedly surrendered, is a surrogate for Iran. Now we'll see where this leads. But I'll get into more detail later on. And I want to go back to the Kerry speech. going to play soundbite 3 again, and I'm going to play soundbite 5 right after it. I have some comments. So, Mike, what I want to do, bam, bam here. No talk between the two bites. Just hit them. So this is the first bite is Kerry saying his goal is to bring the troops home from Iraq. Soundbite 5 is Kerry saying we shouldn't bring the troops home from anywhere else.
I know what we have to do in Iraq. We need a president who has the credibility to bring our allies to our side, because that's the right way to get the job done in Iraq and bring our troops home. Finally, I want to say something about the plan that the president announced on Monday to withdraw 70,000 troops from Asia and Europe. Nobody wants to bring troops home more than those of us who have fought in foreign wars. But it needs to be done at the right time and in a sensible way. This is not that time or that way.
Stop the tape. Go back and put cut 3 in. I don't believe this. Go back and put cut 3 in there, re-cue cut 5. I want to start this all over again. I want you people to listen to this. This is incredible. He says we need a president who has the credibility to bring our allies to our... So let me ask a question about this. Mr. Snerdley just posed a good question. What's in it for our allies to go to Iraq? What? He never answers that question. He says he's going to get our allies to go in, and that means France and Germany. Let's just call a spade here. He's going to get France and Germany in there. What's in it for them? What in the world do they want to go there for now? Well, I'll tell you what Kerry means to imply, or wants us to infer, folks, is that they're going to go in simply because they like him and they hate Bush. But once they get a president they like, well, they're going to do anything that president wants. And that is just flat out BS. It is pure BS because their national interests don't coincide with ours. We're a sovereign nation. The French and Germans are vying for leadership of the European Union. They're trying to become the leaders of the United States of Europe, if you will. They're trying to put that all together. We are the United States of America. We're a sovereign nation. We are their enemy. We're not enemy. We are an obstacle to them. And they're vying for power that is, they know it can never be equal, but they don't want to be lackeys, and they're not going to be lackeys even if John Kerry's in the White House. And he knows it, and he's misleading everybody because he wants you to think that just because he's there and he's some erudite elitist in their mold that they're going to go, oh, finally the world's safe. Where do you want us to go, President Kerry? You want us to go to Iraq? We'll go there. You want to go to Iran? We'll go there. It's BS, folks. There's nothing in it for these people to go there, especially after he's in the White House. What's he going to do then? If they don't go, there's nothing they can do anyway. The French are standing side by side just watching the starvation going on in Sudan. They're not doing anything about it. The French stood away and looked at what was going on in Rwanda, didn't do anything about it. There's no magic to French troops. What's the last thing the French won? I mean, they're more known for their surrenders, aren't they? When's the last thing the Germans won? Gotcha. What is it? What's the magic with these people? What's wrong? We can't do the job? This is astounding to me. All right. Now, I want you to listen to this. We got these bites ready to go here again, and it just proves that the whole presidential campaign of John Kerry and the Democrats is oriented around Iraq. That's the thing that if they just hope goes wrong, that's the thing that they want to focus on, because that's where Bush lied, and that's where Bush took us and we shouldn't have gone, and that's where American soldiers are dying, and they're waiting to count up the 1,000th soldier's death as a milestone. Because they think that's going to be a big deal to hurting Bush, so forth. So here we go again. Now, I've set it up. Now listen.
I know what we have to do in Iraq. We need a president who has the credibility to bring our allies to our side, because that's the right way to get the job done in Iraq and bring our troops home. Finally, I want to say something about the plan that the president announced on Monday to withdraw 70,000 troops from Asia and Europe. Nobody wants to bring troops home more than those of us who have fought in foreign wars. But it needs to be done at the right time and in a sensible way. This is not that time or that way. Let's be clear. The president's vaguely stated plan does not strengthen our hand in the war on terror. It in no way relieves the strain on our overextended military personnel. It doesn't even begin until 2006,
So
and it
what are you
takes 10
complaining
years
about
to
it
achieve.
for?
And this hastily announced plan raises more doubts about our intentions and our commitment than it provides real answers.
I'm telling you, folks, we have an identity crisis staring at us, and it's called John Kerry. He doesn't know who he is. It's not only he doesn't know who he is from day to day, he doesn't know who he is from paragraph to paragraph in a single speech. We're going to bring the troops home in Iraq, and we're going to get the French and the Germans and our allies to take over. Then he says, this is a hastily drawn plan. What do you mean? We're going to bring troops home. It doesn't start till 2006, and it takes 10 years to achieve. This is vaguely stated. This is not right. This is not smart. On the one hand, he says this is hasty action, and then he says it doesn't start till 2006, and it's going to take 10 years. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, you need a clear-thinking individual like me to be able to keep track of all this for you, because this is actually a jigsaw puzzle. Kerry did not deliver a speech today. He threw the pieces of himself out there on the floor at the VFW, and we are here trying to put them back together in a way that makes sense, because when the pieces get put together the way he wants them, we still have a jigsaw puzzle that is unassembled. This is a mind-boggling speech. We're going to bring the troops home from Iraq. We're going to get our allies who have nothing to gain, and they've never said they're going to go. Has anybody gone and asked them? Some people have. You know, there have been some European journalists who have gone over there and asked some of these foreign leaders, you're going to help carry out. And they're all saying no. We had the story for you last week. You know, but I would think, after he keeps saying this, I would think there'd be some enterprising American elite partisan media journalist to go over there and say, hey, Mr. Chirac, Senator Kerry is pretty much pledging your country to go to Iraq and take over for us. And I go to Gerhard Schroeder and I say, Senator Kerry is pledging your country to join the French in Iraq and basically take over for us so we can bring our troops home. Is that the plan? I'd like to know what these guys would say if they were asked that question. We know what the answer is. And this is all BS. This is just smoke and mirrors. This whole business of alliances anyway. We've got allies over there. Every time he makes a speech like this, he insults the people that are there helping us out. And there are 30 nations or more who have contributed in any number of ways. And I still haven't gotten to the pièce de résistance to this speech. Let me take a break now. We'll come back and get to that after the break. Your phone calls are coming up. Sit tight. Don't go away. Be right back. Won't be long.
This election year, beat back the left with the Limbaugh letter. Upbeat, optimistic, and always right. Subscribe today and get a free bonus report. Call 800-457-4141 or visit rushlimbaugh.com. You're listening to the EIB Network.
You know, for the longest time, ladies and gentlemen, I have been doing the job the mainstream media used to do, and for a long time I enjoyed it. I love filling the void. I'm getting tired of it now. I'm getting tired of doing the job they used to do. The analysis you're hearing of this speech today, in the old days, the mainstream press would have done some of this because it's so unreal. To stop and think for a second. Why would the French and the Germans send troops to Iraq at the same time we are withdrawing ours? That is what Kerry has said is going to happen. And he said it in this speech. Prior to this speech, he said that 6 months after he becomes president, he's going to start withdrawing our troops from Iraq. 6 months to a year. He said that. We're all wondering, well, that's really brilliant. You go ahead and tell the terrorist bad guys of the world that their enemy is leaving in 6 months to a year. They can go on a siesta. They go out there, drink pina coladas, pretend there's an ocean, and go to the beach. Wait for us to leave and then run in there and take over the country and take it back. But no, that won't happen, because as we're leaving, the French and the Germans are going to come rolling in just because John Kerry's president. Come on, folks. This is not possible. You can't even visualize it. This is a cartoon if you visualize it. Now, I have something else here. For you liberals, you can't understand. I swear I love you people, and I wouldn't be where I am without you. So I don't want you to ever go away. But this pretzel that you have yourselves twisted in, we're supposed to get out of Iraq yesterday, but we're not supposed to leave Germany and Japan and South Korea. We've only been there 60 years. We've only been these places 60 years. I think we've won the peace. Here's a way for you to look at it. Let me explain this in terms that you liberals and Kerry can understand this. We are ending our 60-year occupation of Europe. We have occupied. That's what you think the U.S. does. We go out there, we occupy. We don't liberate. Well, we've occupied Europe for 60 years. It's about time we got home. We don't intend to occupy Iraq for 60 years. We want to have a little bit more success. Does that help you understand this? We've had a 60-year occupation of Germany. You know, folks, it is... Sometimes I like being the smartest guy in the room, but sometimes it's pressure. You know, just go... I literally go nuts here because this is just unbelievable. But this whole picture of the French and Germans, can you just see Lawrence of Arabia rolling in there? Peter O'Toole rolling in here. General Abizaid leading our guys out. Here come the French and Germans to save the day. Mighty Mouse 2. All because they like John Kerry. If anybody thinks, with what's happening to the immigration of France, if anybody thinks the French government's going to take on Islamic terrorists, you have got to go get a brain exchange. You got to go wherever you got your brain and ask for a new one because you are an idiot. Anybody who thinks that the French and Germans are going to go in there, they're still hoping to collect on the under-the-table deals they had with Saddam when this is all straightened out. Golly, this is just unbelievable. All right, it's time for another soundbite, folks. The fun just never stops. Audio soundbite number 2. Be prepared for me to yell stop pretty soon in this mic. This doesn't take long to peg the meter of disbelief. Hang on.
Now, with so much at stake in the struggle against al-Qaeda, the American people want to hear in plain words the answer to a simple question. How are we going to get the terrorists before they get us?
Stop the tape! What do you think we are doing? What in the world does he think this is September 10th and there has not been an attack? We didn't stop the terrorists before they hit us, and we're doing it now so that they can't hit us again. The American people already know the answer to the question. They're watching it take place, and they know something else. They don't trust you to keep it from happening again. Senator Kerry, how are we going to get the terrorists before they get us? What kind of language is that from a guy running for president? What is this, cowboys and Indians? Where's my toy six-shooter that I used to use when I was 6 years old, pretending to shoot the bad guys in the backyard? We got to get them before they get us. It's not us versus them. That's not liberal lingo. We can't talk in terms like that. I thought he was going to fight a sensitive war. Now all of a sudden he's declared war on these guys. How are we going to get them before they get us? Just what is our strategy? And he continues.
Just what is our strategy? Not just for striking back against the terrorists, but for defeating their aims, destroying their movement, discrediting their cause, and bringing old and new friends to our side.
Stop the tape. Well, you tell me how you're going to do any of this by getting us out of Iraq. That's where the battle's taking place, you dunderhead, and you've just pledged to get us out of the battle. I may need a paper bag here because I am hyperventilating. Let's listen to the rest of it.
What is our long-term strategy for making America safer?
We're doing it.
Over the course of this campaign, I have laid out my plans to reshape and rebuild the American military.
Stop the tape. Yeah, this from the guy who spent all of 19 years cutting the military, vote by vote by vote by vote, by not authorizing funds for the current military operation in Iraq before he voted against it or for it, whatever he did. And you got to go to his website to find his stupid plan. I just saw a commercial here. He's running a commercial about how he's going to get everybody health insurance and this and that. John Kerry has a plan for this. John Kerry has a plan for that. To see the plan, go to johnkerry.com. Now, he has to know that 99% of people see the commercial are not going to go to johnkerry.com, which means he doesn't want them to see the plan. Probably there isn't a plan. There's some words, but there's no plan. This is unbelievable, but we're not through with the bite. And the pièce de résistance bite still to come. Probably do that in the monologue segment next hour.
Ready to fight tomorrow's wars, not yesterday's. As a combat veteran who's walked in your shoes, I know that the first duty of a commander-in-chief is to make sure that our troops are the best trained, best equipped fighting force in the world, and to never send them into battle without a plan to win the peace. That is essential.
That is BS too. That is full of, and that doesn't represent an understanding of the purpose of armies. The purpose of armies is not to go in and win peace. The purpose of armies is to kill people and break things so that you win. Victory is victory. You win when the other guys are defeated or they surrender or they give in and they change to what you say they have to do. That's victory. This whole no, wars are not fought for peace. Only in John Kerry's world are wars fought for peace. Wars are not fought for peace. Nobody ever fought a war for peace. Wars are fought for all sorts of different reasons, but peace happens to be, if you win, happens to be one of the byproducts of it, but you got to be careful because peace to some people is not peace to others. You know, Kim Jong-il has his desire of peace too. You know what his definition of peace is? Enough nukes to wipe out anybody that might want to feed his people. You know what peace was to the Soviet Union? Peace was the absence of threat and a tyranny over its own population so they couldn't uprise against them. What's peace to us? Peace is the absence of threat, the presence of justice. There's a whole bunch of different definitions of peace. Wars are not fought for peace. They're fought for victory. I got to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
We're always ready, so bring it on. Rush on the EIB network.
It was just suggested to me in an email by a friend that I need a vacation. You know what? That friend is right. I do need a vacation, so I'm going to take one next week, folks. I'm telling you right. I'm just decided. I'm going to work Monday, and I'm out of here. You know where I'm going? I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to go to Europe before Europe is gone. I'm going to go to Europe before it's finished, and I want to see it one last time. I want to go to Scotland, because I've never been to Scotland. I've been to the UK, I've been to Britain and Ireland, but I've never been to Scotland. And you don't hear about Scotland much in the war on terrorists. It's pretty safe still. Probably one of the last places to fall. But I'm going to go to Scotland. And we still have 2 hours of this program. I'm serious. The opportunities to see Europe as it is are dwindling. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just fortunate that I have the freedom and the means to be able to make such a snap decision that I just made.